The little girl's laughter echoed through the marble lobby of Titan Industries, a sound so pure it seemed out of place among the cold steel and glass. Emma Chen, barely 6 years old, skipped beside her father as he pushed his cleaning cart toward the executive elevators. Her pink backpack bounced with each step, and her pigtails swayed as she hummed a tune from her school music class. "Daddy, can I help you clean today?" she asked, her eyes bright with innocent enthusiasm. Marcus Chen smiled down at his daughter, his weathered hands pausing on the cart handle. "Maybe just a little bit, sweetheart. But remember, you have to stay quiet, okay? The important people are still working." He'd brought Emma to work because her school had closed early for teacher conferences, and the babysitter had canceled at the last minute. Marcus had no choice. Single fathers who worked as janitors didn't have the luxury of taking days off. Every shift mattered. Every dollar counted. As they entered the top floor, the atmosphere changed. The air felt thicker here, weighted with ambition and expensive cologne. Marcus had cleaned these offices for 3 years. Always invisible, always unnoticed. He preferred it that way. The less attention he attracted, the better. But today would be different. "What is that doing up here?" The voice cut through the quiet like a knife. Marcus turned to see Richard Blackwell, the newly appointed CEO, striding toward them with his entourage of executives trailing behind. Blackwell was young, barely 40, and wore his success like armor. A $10,000 suit, Italian leather shoes, and a Rolex that probably cost more than Marcus made in a year. "Sir, I apologize," Marcus said quickly, positioning himself slightly in front of Emma. "There was a situation with my daughter's school." "I don't care about your situation," Blackwell interrupted, his lips curling into a sneer. "This is a Fortune 500 company, not a daycare center. Do you have any idea how unprofessional this looks?" Emma's small hand gripped her father's uniform, and Marcus felt her shrink behind him. His jaw tightened, but he kept his voice level. "It won't happen again, sir. I'll work double time to make up for any disruption." Blackwell's laugh was sharp and cruel. "Double time? You're a janitor. You push a mop. A trained monkey could do your job." He turned to his executives, who stood frozen in uncomfortable silence. "This is exactly what I've been talking about. Low standards. We need to clean house, no pun intended, and bring in people who understand excellence." "Daddy?" Emma's voice was small and confused. "Why is he being mean to you?" The question hung in the air. Marcus felt his face burn with humiliation, not for himself, but for his daughter. This was the lesson she was learning today, that the world could be cruel, that her father could be diminished in front of her eyes. "It's okay, baby," Marcus whispered, kneeling down to her level. "Some people just have bad days." "Bad days?" Blackwell scoffed. "I'll tell you. What's bad having to explain to our board why we're paying someone like you when we could outsource this entire department for half the cost? You're lucky you even have a job." Something flickered across Marcus's face. A shadow of pain, of memories he'd buried deep. His hand unconsciously moved to his chest, pressing against the fabric of his uniform where, beneath it, a long scar ran from his sternum to his abdomen. "Please," Marcus said quietly. "Just let me do my work." But Blackwell wasn't finished. He stepped closer, invading Marcus's space with the confidence of someone who'd never been challenged. "Look at you, begging. This is pathetic. You know what? I want you to understand something. In the real world, there are winners and losers, leaders and followers, important people and—" He gestured dismissively at Marcus. "People like you. The sooner you accept your place, the better off you'll be." One of the executives, a woman named Sandra Martinez, finally spoke up. "Richard, maybe we should—" "Should what, Sandra? Coddle mediocrity? That's exactly the kind of thinking that's been holding this company back." Emma had begun to cry silently, tears streaming down her cheeks as she watched her father being degraded. Marcus pulled her close, his own eyes glistening, but not with weakness. With something else, something deeper. "I know my place," Marcus said softly, his voice carrying a strange weight. "I've always known my place." "Good, then you understand." Blackwell stopped mid-sentence. His eyes had caught something on the cleaning cart, a small frame tucked among the supplies. He snatched it before Marcus could react. It was a photograph, worn at the edges from being carried and looked at countless times. It showed a younger Marcus in military dress uniform, standing in what appeared to be a battlefield medical tent. But what arrested everyone's attention was the Medal of Honor, displayed in the corner of the frame, and the newspaper clipping attached to the back. Sandra gasped. Is that you?" Blackwell's face had gone pale as he read the clipping. His voice, when he spoke, had lost all its bravado. "This says, Army Special Forces, Combat Medic. It says you ran into enemy fire 17 times in a single engagement to save wounded soldiers. You were shot twice. They said you refused evacuation until every man was stabilized." The hallway had gone deathly silent. Marcus straightened, and suddenly he seemed different. Not taller, but somehow more present, as if a weight had lifted. "It was a long time ago." "The scar on your chest," one of the executives breathed. "The article says you took shrapnel that should have killed you, but you kept working for another hour before you collapsed." "Daddy saved people," Emma said proudly through her tears, her small voice carrying clearly now. "He has medals in a box at home. He says they're not important, but I know they are. He's a hero." Blackwell's hands trembled as he held the photograph. The executives stared at him, waiting, their expressions a mixture of shock and judgment. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Sandra asked Marcus gently. "Why work as a janitor when you could—" "Could what?" Marcus interrupted, his voice still quiet but firm now. "Should I walk around announcing who I used to be? Should I demand respect because of something I did a decade ago? I came back from that war different, damaged. I have nightmares, panic attacks. The VA tries to help, but some things don't heal." He looked down at Emma, his expression softening. "This job lets me provide for my daughter. It has decent health insurance. The hours are predictable. It's honest work, and I'm not ashamed of it." He turned to Blackwell, and their eyes met. The decorated war hero and the CEO, who'd never faced anything more dangerous than a hostile corporate takeover. "I don't need people to know what I did," Marcus continued. "I did it because it was right. Because those men were someone's father, someone's son, someone's brother, just like I'm someone's father." He touched Emma's head tenderly. "And just like you're someone's son, Mr. Blackwell, we're all just people. None of us more important than the other. Some of us just forget that sometimes." The truth of his words settled over them like fresh snow. Blackwell stood frozen, the photograph still in his hands, his face a portrait of shame. Blackwell started, then stopped. His voice cracked. "I don't know what to say." "You could start with an apology," Sandra said sharply, her loyalty to the CEO evaporating in the face of his cruelty. Blackwell looked at Emma, at her tear-stained face and frightened eyes, and something seemed to break inside him. He knelt down slowly, bringing himself to the little girl's level, just as Marcus had done earlier. "Emma," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I'm sorry. I was wrong. Your daddy isn't just any person. He's an extraordinary person. And not because of his medals or what he did in the war, but because of how he treats people, how he works hard for you, how he stays kind even when others—" He swallowed hard, "even when others don't deserve it." He looked up at Marcus, and there were actual tears in his eyes now. "I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. You're right, I forgot. I forgot that every person I pass in these hallways has a story, has dignity, has value. I became exactly the kind of person I used to hate when I was starting out." Marcus studied him for a long moment, then extended his hand. "We all forget sometimes. The question is what we do when we remember." Blackwell took his hand, gripping it firmly, and something unspoken passed between them. Understanding. Forgiveness, recognition. The next day, Marcus arrived at work to find his supervisor waiting with an unusual expression. "Mr. Blackwell wants to see you in his office." "Right away." Marcus's heart sank. This was it. He was being fired. But when he entered the executive suite, Blackwell stood and came around his desk. His demeanor entirely changed. "I spent all night thinking," Blackwell said, "and I realized something. This company needs people like you, not just people who can clean offices, but people who understand service, sacrifice, integrity. I'd like to offer you a position in our Veterans Outreach Program. We'll create it if we have to. Better pay, full benefits, and Emma gets a scholarship to any school she wants." Marcus stood speechless. "But more than that," Blackwell continued, "I want you to help me remember. Help this whole company remember what really matters. Not quarterly reports or stock prices, but people. treating everyone with dignity. 6 months later, Marcus stood in front of a packed auditorium at Titan Industries' first annual employee recognition event. Emma sat in the front row, beaming with pride. But Marcus wasn't being honored for his war service. He was receiving the company's new Everyday Hero Award, created to recognize employees who exemplified character, integrity, and kindness, regardless of their position. And as Richard Blackwell presented the award, he shared their story, not to embarrass himself, but to remind everyone that transformation was possible, that we could all do better, be better. Because in the end, the janitor's greatest act of heroism wasn't what he did on a battlefield far away. It was showing up every day, treating people with dignity, raising his daughter with love, and having the grace to forgive someone who didn't deserve it. That was the kind of courage that changed the world.